All right. Well, welcome to the next episode of Discipline, Desire, and Dedication. My name is Dakota Lang. This is Garrett Cotton. Got two very important people on with us today, the ones that gave us the opportunity. So we got Kyle Deaver here and Levi Henry, the owners of Performance Windows. So welcome, guys.
Thank you. Glad to be here. If you had to say which one was more important, though, which one would you pick? No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know. I guess I don't know, but let's really just break down. I know that myself and Garrett have talked about, you guys tremendously just as far as the opportunity that we go on a day-to-day basis and, the vision that we have for the Denver office and especially just within the company. Mm-hmm. So kind of just break down, Levi, kind of just break down what you did to get us here today and kind of, your backstory on where you came from.
Cool. Yeah, so me and Kyle were both living in a place called St. George, Utah. That's south of here. And I won't go too far back, but I'll just say this. In our early to mid-20s, we were both having some career turmoil. And that's putting it lightly. We were both down on our luck in a big way.
Broke as hell.
Yeah. Yep. And somewhere along the line, I had previously been in door-to-door like a few years before this. I hadn't been good, but I kind of had some understanding of what the opportunity was about. I had done one little summer of pest control. And I had this idea to get back into it, so I started looking around for like a solar company. That's the idea I had. But somewhere in there, I was working at this restaurant, and a guy I worked with said, hey, because he was going to do it with me. He says, hey, I found something better. This guy I used to hang out with back in high school does his thing. He sells windows. Here's how it works, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to meet with him on Thursday. And I was like, well, cool, man. I'll come along. So I get involved. That was me and Kyle's old boss where we started. I get involved. I'm the second setter over there, period. The boss was the closer. It was just that office. Shortly after that, we bring in Kyle, bring in a couple other guys, eventually build up to a team. I start closing deals. Shortly after that, Kyle starts closing deals. And, it was kind of the early going here. I'll let Kyle kick in on that part.
Yeah, I remember, me and Levi, we first met serving tables at Buca de Beppo. He's still on my phone as Levi Buca. And I remember we'd kind of gone our separate ways. I got this job working at a radio station. And I remember I was pumped. I came home and told my wife that I was going to be making $2,000 a month. I said, baby, we made it.
Yeah.
And then, I was trying different things for a couple of years. And one time I was taking my daughter to a babysitter, and I saw Levi for the first time in a couple of years, maybe a year and a half or two. And just saw him walking on the side of the road, and I pulled over. I said, hey, you need a ride, man? He goes, no, I'm doing this thing where I knock on doors, I sell windows, and we get a check every week. You get paid $500 per sale. All you have to do is sit. And I was like, okay, well, this sounds fake as hell, right? I remember I was in the shower the next morning, tell my wife, this is fake, but I'm going to go anyway because I had no other options anyway. Plus, I trusted Levi. That's a big piece. I mean, you guys know with recruiting is that we'd been friends before, so I kind of trusted him. And I went in, and it was instant success with us going, and that's back when we were making $500 a pop.
Right.
Yeah, I remember I had a set. I set it my first day. It closed the next day. And Kyle had a same-day close his first day. So, we were both stoked. It was a life raft, financially speaking, in that moment. And like I was saying, we just kind of built up from there, man. I was the first closer besides our boss. And Kyle was the second, and we started bringing people in. And then somewhere shortly after that, we both moved up here to northern Utah, opened a branch. The system wasn't as structured as it is now.
Right.
Me and Levi had made a pact that we would get ourselves to go work on Saturdays. Because there was no requirements. It was 100% just go out and do whatever you want, and it wouldn't work. I mean, we'd get a sale or two a week, and that's just because we were about our money and determined. But we held this. It was actually a foreign thing. I remember we went and worked a Saturday, and I got 5 sets, and then we had a little get together in my house the other day. But it was the wildest of Wests back then. It was just us deciding to go work or not.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most appealing things about people that do come on to, like even our recruits, is there's a system that really works. and just buying into that system is usually how you will see results. As far as you two, though, was Kyle one of your first recruits, like whenever you kind of got into the window game?
The first.
No, I was number 2, right? Your brother-in-law.
Well, you guys started the same day.
Same day, right?
Yeah. Kyle started the same day as my brother. My brother-in-law did fine, man. He worked for like 40 minutes, set 3 appointments, 1 closed, and then he quit.
No joke.
Yeah. He's gonna be a doctor. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how we got going. And then going back to what you said, Garrett, with the system, like this isn't a thing we dreamed up just like from theory, like a thing we thought sounded like it would work. We knew it would work because we had seen what doesn't work. We had, test drove most of these principles. Mm-hmm. And as we came up here, there had been some beef. Kyle was beefing with the old boss. Me and Kyle were actually kind of beefing too. So Kyle was actually with a different company. And then we both moved up to northern Utah to open offices doing like the same job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same job, different companies.
Yeah, kind of a fun story. And we both got our butts kicked. Garrett, you remember when we opened Denver, we sent you and 3 other people. Mm-hmm. 2 of them knew how to close deals. Y'all could run a meeting. You bring in somebody new, having told them how cool this is and how much money it can be made. They come in, they see a few people doing it, and it works, right? I'd go out and recruit people, tell them all this stuff, and they'd say, well, shoot, man, how many people are doing this? And I'm like, you'd be the first one.
That's hard, yeah.
It's a different kind of pitch, yeah.
When I got into the Utah office and I was sitting next to guys making like $400,000 or $500,000 a year, I'm just like, I know that Carson, he made $8,000 last month.
Yeah.
And he made $10,000 the month before.
Right.
And I was like, if this guy can sell, I'm gonna make
do
it
anything,
$16,000 next month, and I'm gonna make $20,000 a month after that. Just that competitive drive. So I knew that I could make $16,000 to $20,000 coming into this job. So walking into it, it was definitely an eye opener, definitely an opportunity that we've never experienced before.
Something too is, you talked about the system. I like that gets brought up because there's people who have broken off of us and done different things. And it's always interesting because they always do the same thing. They always try and make less rules. Like, oh, hey, here, you don't have to do this thing or that thing. As if that was the thing that was really holding them back. When in reality, it's like I've always compared me and Levi have tried incredibly hard to make sure that there's no unnecessary rules, right? Mm-hmm. But it's like being mad that I have to drive on the right side of the road. No, I want to try driving on the left. Well, what's going to happen to you? You're going to get into an accident. So when people like you guys can buy into this system so wholeheartedly and understand, there's very few people in the company. There are some, but there's very few people in the company who understand what this thing is on a philosophical level. You guys buy in so much to the understanding that these things are there so that we can be our best, not so some dude off in some unknown place can be a dick to me, but it's because that's what's going to make me the money and they know it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the best meeting topics that I like to use is I'll get on the whiteboard and I'll actually draw a line. And I always tell people in our office that, Levi and Kyle, they actually paved a blacktop road to success. Mm-hmm. They literally chopped down trees, they went through ditches, through the mud, and they paved this like nice blacktop road. And for us, whenever we start this job, you start off in the ditch. You're next to the road and you can kind of see the road and you know where it's gonna go. But if you can just get on the path and you can just get on the road and to focus on not falling off, you're gonna end up in the same place that they're going. So that's like one of my favorite meeting topics is that this is an opportunity because there is a system in place and we're all in the vehicle going the same direction.
Yeah, one of the big things, honestly, is you'll see people, they come in, they're new, and all they know is the system, so they do well. Mm-hmm. They start making money, then they start thinking that they're God's gift to Windows. They start doing things differently, they start sucking, and they say, oh, it's the company that sucks, which is crazy because they were killing it to start with, right? A big realization that I had a long time ago is that the system is actually even bigger than me and Levi, right? When we're sitting and talking a lot of the time, we'll be like, should we make this rule change? Well, no, that goes against the core value. So we adhere to this system. We don't make things that will go against it.
And in regards to the system as well, so this is just a struggle that me and Dakota has kind of noticed as well, is that we'll try to find times where we'll lower the standard just a hair to try and help somebody out and stuff like that. What's some of the experiences that y'all have experienced with, guys underneath that come in that you want to push them to see success, but,
And mistakes we've made, yeah.
The problem is that it's very hard to adjust back up. If I'm not going to say you can never do one, there's little circumstances, but you have to telegraph the future to them. You have to be like, hey, we're doing this as a one-time special little thing, as a transitionary period, but by some date in the future, you're going to have to be just like everybody else. If this is an ongoing thing, it's just not a fit. And even in saying that, I mean, I internally cringe even to say that one out loud because it still won't work half the time. So generally speaking, if they want it bad enough, they'll make it work. And if they don't, they won't.
Yeah.
And we've made big mistakes, and I'll even say that we're based in fear, right? For me personally, I said, well, don't want to lose that guy because the office is kind of small, and he's really done some good stuff in the past. So I'm worried if we do this thing, he'll leave or whatever it is. And every single time that we've acted on fear rather than on
Gut.
gut, big time, it's kicked us right in the balls every time.
The thing you have to realize is that when you do that, why are you scared to lose this guy? Because you don't think you can get more. Because to some extent you've become a little less sold on the opportunity. You have
Belief. Yeah.
Yeah, it's your belief level. So if you believe that you can sell, you're more abundant about your appointments. If you believe that you can recruit, you're more abundant about cutting a guy, which might sound counterintuitive, but it's not. So,
And one thing I'll say about that, especially like comes back to what you were saying, like trust. Like you trusted Levi whenever the opportunity presented itself. It kind of comes back to the same thing as like me and Garrett. I was trying to get him to come into real estate as far as, coming to over there with the EXP with me and grow a team. And whenever he literally
Just talking to the mic.
And whenever literally Garrett called me and we were on the phone and he was like, dude, let's buy your ticket. Like, let's come up here. I want to show you what we have to offer. And I come up here and I look at it and I'm like, dude, this is crazy, but even whenever, I think I was talking to one of you about it, though, I think it's Kyle, whenever I was telling you, like now when we're going into recruiting, people are getting intimidated by what we have built. And that transition there from, like you said, getting the first recruit, telling them, hey, look, how many guys do it? I'm only one. You are him. You are him. You know what I mean? Compared to saying, hey, well, yeah, we got another 25 people in this office. Come join the team. It's just a totally different perspective and something that myself and Garrett are really juggling, trying to figure out.
yeah, it's interesting because you obviously want to show off what we've done, how cool it is, all that type of stuff. But then, like you said, it can become intimidating. And I think really how you mitigate that is you emphasize the training. Because you have to know what a person's objection is in their head, even if they're not saying it to you. Their objection is, I think that sales people are a type, and I'm not sure I'm it. So the rebuttal is, you don't have to be a type. We can train anybody to do this. All that we need is your willingness.
Hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also on that as well. So what I've noticed with recruiting is for us at Denver so we're very fortunate to have the opportunity that we have, that a lot of our recruits come from out of state. So whenever they get this opportunity, they are fully invested.
Yeah.
One thing that I've noticed though is as our office starts to grow, and I know that you have split an office, so maybe you'll have some good input. How do you start to give more attention to the people as we start to grow further and further away?
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly tough, right? It's tough because one of my favorite things to do was when I was a marketer, right? When I could just run meetings with 10 people, whatever it is, have those relationships, be able to go work with that guy. Now we've got 10 offices, and my ability to do that is fleeting. It's I get to pop into an office, give a meeting, and I had to learn how to do that too because of my rapport. When I'm friends with you, I'll even bust your ass. You guys will do the same thing to your peoples. When you've got the relationship, you'll bust them because you can. They know you care about them. But the more and more people you get, the harder it is to have those personal relationships, which then makes it harder to hold people accountable the same way, which then makes it harder to keep that same culture, right? Mm-hmm. So the best thing to do is prune the leaves and cut off the worst offenders no matter what, but splitting offices, sending people off. I think that's one of the big things with performance that you guys really capitulate and understand is it's about eternal growth, right? Is that by building that up, you send 5, 6 people away, it actually is going to make this office better because now you get to have more of the individual attention.
Right.
I would also add, it's all about not just growing every individual, but about growing leaders to help you do it. You know, I think one person effectively can manage, I mean, I guess it could be different depending on the role and the person, but, 4 to 8 people. If you're trying to be the only manager of 10, 15, 20 people, it's just not going to work in any case. That's kind of why me and Kyle created the regional position, is because the two of us managing 10 market owners, that wasn't working, and we consider ourselves pretty good at this, and it wasn't working for us. So.
Right. And that goes back to a situation that myself and Garrett had, what was that, probably June or May, is that we had 2 guys come into the office, and both of them initially moved in with Garrett, and we figured out it comes back to the numbers as far as managing people. When one of the biggest advice that we give to the guys and the females that are in our office that bring in recruits is to never bring in more than one. Because if you bring in 2 negative mindset people into your environment, those 2 negative mindsets will try to overpower your 1 positive mindset. So by doing that, when we experienced it, we literally came in and we busted the room.
Yeah.
And it was one of the most uncomfortable things that we had to do, of 2 of our great friends that we just had to come in and said, look, this is no longer working.
Pack your stuff right now. We're leaving.
Yeah.
And he was like in the morning, and we're like, no, right now. We
Get out.
have to fix it right now.
Yeah, like there's no talking about it, like the decision is made, because we already talked about it before we put ourselves in the room and made the decision.
Yeah, we were beating ourselves down because we were being outnumbered to the mindset.
Yeah, they get to, it's like they get together and they're like, Garrett, we've gotten together, we've voted, and our consensus is that hard work doesn't actually yield results.
Literally.
Well, and the thing that's true too is like what people don't understand is that, people see me and Levi and it's big bad Kyle and Levi, right? That, we're just these all powerful dickheads that, rain down supreme. But the fact of the matter is that I heard something once. It was like, take it easy on your parents because this is their first chance. This is their first time doing life as well, right? And what people don't realize is you guys in leadership, they think that you're doing these things because you're angry or a dick or you're the one that's the most insidious to me is when people think to themselves, well, he's just trying to get me to make him more money. And it's like, no, dude, not even close. Because the fact of the matter is that this organization is big enough that I'm going to make money no matter what. I want you to make money. I care about you. I've been a scared kid standing on a corner worried about paying my rent. I know what it's like, and I want the best for you, right? But from a leadership standpoint, you'll almost get gaslit sometimes where it's like, oh, maybe I am wrong. Maybe I'm going too hard. Maybe I'm this. And then you remember that the only people who have had results have been from that kind of accountability, right? And Levi says it good. It's people mistake accountability for how do you phrase that?
Accountability isn't negativity, and lack of accountability isn't positivity.
Right.
Sometimes a person will be like, well, I just feel like it's so negative around here. It's like, when we say you were really bad at your job yesterday, what do you think happened? That's not negative, man. Not really. Yeah, that's accountability. I was kind of laughing as you were saying that whole thing because I was remembering one of my most dramatic moments ever in the job. I was like, sometimes there's 1 or 2 people that are having a bad attitude and we just tell them why they're wrong. But if everybody gets together and they all have a bad attitude, I'm just going to resign. I quit.
Literally.
I'm not going to get outvoted by you people. Not going to have it happen.
And one thing, let's kind of go back to what you were talking about as far as the recruiting and stuff like that. One thing that we really try to implement in our office on the daily basis, as far as like leadership roles, developing leaders, because that's what we need, right? And really one thing that we really go on a daily basis is just showing the people that have come in after us the vision of what we're trying to accomplish here and what we will accomplish. And like we always use the analogy, like the train's going, it's just a matter if you want to jump on or not, because we're all going to the same place. It's just a matter if you just want to go there with us. So what would really be like some advice that you can give, any newcomer that's, any of the listeners on the podcast, especially from our hometown, seeing how far we have came, and, I haven't even been with this company for a year. So, and it's completely changed my life more than I can even express into words. But really just, give some advice to the people that are listening out as far as like what our vision is in the 5 to 10 year, and how they can be, a part of the success that we have in this room.
Well, let me ask before we give advice, what is your guys' vision? Just talk Denver and then talk yourselves. Don't talk about where you've come from, but from this point forward, what is your guys' 5-year vision for yourselves? And then we can give advice on that.
Yeah, I would say me personally. So I'm the market owner over Denver now, and in the past year, every day is a new day. So I really have no clue what's going to happen. So I've just been taking it with a grain of salt. Just very thankful for the opportunities that I have been getting. But the way that I treat it is I treat this business as my own. Ultimately, the only way to make more money is grow your business. So growth. It like repeats in my head. Levi came one day and he was like, we are in aggressive expansion mode. And I tell everybody that I call, we're in aggressive expansion mode. I've been saying that we're on the 3rd year of our company. We're doing $60 million for like 3 years, like my entire year here. Yeah. Like we are putting up some numbers. And ultimately, it's like we started off with nothing, but where it's going is I see that enough of a vision that, like Renewal by Anderson, they started off door to door. Champion Windows started off canvassing that way. So we're at the beginning of those companies that are huge, and I just want to have my piece of the pie whenever it gets to be that large. Mm-hmm. So as far as the short-term vision and long-term vision of the Denver office, we're treating it ultimately. We've even started to say that we want it to be like a market owner's training hub. We want to train leaders. We want to continue to keep the standard so high, and without ever having to lower the bar to allow somebody to achieve that.
Yeah. Honestly, a couple of things in there. What's really important is like when you came in, how long have you been with us, Garrett?
A year and 5 months, maybe.
Okay, so you were there when we were finishing up our $30 million year, right? Mm-hmm. And I bet it would have been easy to come in because then we were at 6 offices around there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I bet it would have been easy to come in there and be like, this isn't ground floor anymore. I'm not going to, I can't really make a mark on this, but we'll see how it goes, right? Then the next year we do $60 million, right? Mm-hmm. And at 10, soon to be more offices than that, right? And somebody could come in and think to themselves, well, it's not really ground floor anymore. One time I got asked, they said, did you become an entrepreneur because you couldn't work for another man? I said, hell no. That's never been what it's been for me. That's a lot of people say, well, I just couldn't work for somebody else. I do for myself. I didn't care about that.
Those people have small businesses.
Yeah, very small businesses. For me, it's always been about my thing must fit within whatever I'm in, right? Mm-hmm. So if your goal is to make $1 million in a year, well, we've already got positions now making more than that. The only thing that stops us from opening the positions above that is people jump ship when they think they're about to hit the dock, when in reality they're heading to the open seas, Right. Mm-hmm. So the advice I would give, honestly, is that at this point it's tried and true. It should be trusted. I mean, you guys have never lied to a single person, right? Mm-hmm. You don't sit across from a desk and say, yeah, you're going to make $1 million in your first week and Saturday is stripper Saturdays. You don't, right? What you do is you tell them, hey, listen, you come in here, you work hard, you're going to make this money, mm-hmm. right? Yeah. And if they come in, they work hard, they make the money, right? So the advice I would give for anybody is trust the ones that have earned the trust, and then come in here and work hard, build your business, because this thing should be much bigger.
Yeah, and I even go back to as far as like you're saying, like the money's going to come, you go in and you work hard. I tell people, like, this is the hardest thing that you'll ever do, but the most rewarding. The finances will come. The name of this game is personal development. Mm-hmm. If you come in here and you, like Garrett says it all the time, is like, obviously with having a baby on the way, like he wants to be the best father that he can, the best brother, the best uncle. If you could develop yourself into the best person that you can be, the finances will follow. And it's just really just getting people to buy into that and holding themselves accountable to become that better person.
And just to tag on that as well, so one of my biggest sayings is you have to be the person that you want to be led by, because again, you can't lead others until you lead yourself. So you have to be that leader. You can, on your sick days, you don't have sick days. There's no calling in and get somebody to cover your shift. Like it is, you have to be the backbone so that the rest of the company can operate.
Love that.
Yeah.
Back on the growth thing, you know, some of the podcasts I like listening to the most, I'll listen to these little door-to-door theme podcasts from dudes who are like 40, 45 years old and retired from Vivint, right? And the story, if you just listen to somebody tell it just colloquially in the street, is, oh yeah, that guy's been at Vivint forever, like since the beginning, right? Now here's the catch. I'm gonna tell you something. As I listened to some of those, most of these guys on these podcasts, they joined Vivint in like 2005 or something. You want to know when it was founded? 1999. It's a 6-year-old company doing, I don't know, some 8 figures in revenue, just like us. So, you know, if a person is wondering if we're done, no, we're not done. There's tons of room to run. You know, we only just this last year started doing hiring through online means. We're currently right now building out a online, what am I trying to say? Like a retail department, marketing, right? Inbound. Soon we'll be doing other products. I would say we're in less than a quarter of the markets that could plausibly have an office of ours. And if we start doing a different kind of office that we're looking at, it's going to be double that. So there's plenty of room.
And when you guys started with Performance Windows, your own company, did it start off to where it was a vision that it's going to turn into that retail, or was it just kind of like, well, we're making good money doing it right now, let's just keep doing it?
No, the big thing for us, there's a book called Who Moved My Cheese. It's real easy to read. I mean, it's like 35, 40 pages, right? But every business guy, traditional business guy, if you find a guy working 9 to 5 somewhere and you say, you ever read Who Moved My Cheese? You go, yeah, I have. Right? They get really excited about it. But the concept is that there's 4 characters, right, in the book. And the big thing is that 2 of them, when they go to the spot where there's always food, it's not there. They sit down and just like, oh, okay, well, we'll just wait until the food comes. And the other 2, they're called Sniff and Scurry. They just go out and they're looking. They're looking always, looking for the cheese and then finding it and then eating and finding it. Me and Levi have always, at this point, at a certain point, it becomes less about the money, right? And it becomes about how it becomes a game. How big can you make this thing? How big can we make the people underneath us? How big can we make it so they can continue to want to be there, right? And that's the big thing for me and Levi is we don't think to ourselves, well, how do I make a little extra here or here? What we think to ourselves is, how do we make this a $200 million company, a $500 million, a $1 billion company, right? Because if this is a $1 billion company, then the people that were making $200,000 as a closer, $500,000 as a market owner, $1.5 million as a regional are now making $10 million as a whatever it is, right? But the big thing always has been, and this is honestly the value I've always believed that me and Levi provide for everybody that works for us, is that it will never stop. There will always be opportunities for advancement because it's not about the money, it's about the company. It's about the system that's bigger than us.
Yeah, you know, I have, it's almost unhealthy how few friends I have outside Performance Windows. They all work here. So when I think about growing the company, it's, you know, like Kyle was saying, you know, we make enough money, we're fine. I feel this duty to continue growing the company because I need to put on for my guys. I want the boys to be able to go make a mill.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the big thing. Yeah, I always revert that back to, I heard a saying not too long ago that if you want to be a millionaire, you have to change the lives of 1 million people. You know, for us, I take it as an incredible opportunity that we're selling replacement windows. You know, we're changing the lives of homeowners. We have an opportunity where we can change the lives of the people that come and work with us. We have it never ends, you know. So ultimately, we finally got the path to where we're going, and it's just consistency, staying there until we get there.
What I've always loved about Performance, not to be patting ourselves on the back too hard, but when you knock on a door, you know, people think, well, I don't want to go do door knocking. I'm just going to get yelled at and everything. When you knock on a door and somebody's a dick to you, you're not fighting against their perception of you. You're fighting against their perception of the door-to-door industry, where people will go in all the time and have to do shady stuff, you know, try and be the first one to find or the cheapest, or have to really fight with grandma to do it. When in reality, with us, we're going to be the first persons really in their life that's going to knock on the door that really is selling exactly what we're promising. An incredible window, incredible install, credible customer service. And it just feels good that I could sell it to a nine. In fact, I have sold it. I sold it once I sold windows to a blind guy who had a 100-year-old trailer, right? And when I went there, I was like, ooh, this is kind of rough. I don't want to do this. That guy still to this day will call us. It's been 3 years. Says the best decision he ever made, right? And for me, I'm like, oh, it feels so good to be able to sell something that makes a difference rather than something that just makes me money.
That's right.
And I think, and just like I was saying with, I've only been here less than a year. My life has completely changed financially. But like to piggyback on what you're saying, it eventually, and I ain't even nowhere close to where I'm going to be, but as far as the money is no longer the motive. And I think one thing, with the appointments at the Knockers, making the amount of money that they make starting out with this job is a very hard transition for them coming from a 9 to 5 or waiting or serving tables, whatever it is, to come into making 5 G's a week. So really, as far as the lowest position in the company, getting those guys to fully buy in, to know that there's more, because they can come in there already making more money than they ever have, and they get comfortable. They're like, oh, man, I don't need to go work this week. I can take off 2 days.
Let me address that point because I really like it, right? You said it's not about the money. To be honest, it is about the money, but not in the same way, right? Money to me is just a way to keep score at this point. It's like if that guy made more than me, I don't care. My bills are more than paid. I got all this cool stuff, but damn it, that guy beat me, right? And I want to go beat him.
He provided more value.
Yeah, he did better than me, right? And it just becomes a score. And the fact of the matter is, I'll tell all your listeners that if you aren't thinking that way, you're in the wrong. You should be competitive. You should want to win. You should want other people to win too. I want everybody to win, just a little less than I win. I want to win more, right?
Yeah.
And it's so healthy to be competitive and to live in an environment where everybody's eating, but everybody wants to win. That's probably one of the healthiest things you can be a part of.
Yeah, it kind of reverts back. I went to church like 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about there's 2 types of mindsets. There's either a fixed mindset or a growth mindset.
Yeah.
All of us here in this room, we have a growth mindset. It's always like there's no limit. If you give me an opportunity, I'm going to try my best to be the best at it. So I feel like the people that come into this job that have success, they already come into the room saying, I'm going to be on that leaderboard. I'm going to come in here and make a name for myself. Versus those people with the fixed mindsets, they'll come in and it's just it's a scam. It's like, oh, it's too good to be true.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So
Can I just comment on that, by the way? I loved that clip that y'all posted from the podcast the other day where Dakota was like, people ask, what's the catch?
yeah.
I watched it and I literally shouted at my phone. I said, it's hard.
Yeah.
Job's hard. That's the catch.
Yeah, that's it. Literally. Yeah, it's the easiest job you'll ever do.
Yeah.
But it's also the hardest job you'll ever. But
Easiest physically, hardest mentally, right?
Yeah.
I used to dig trenches, right? I used to do construction, demolition, and concrete. And I'd have to dig trenches 3 feet down, 2 feet wide for miles, right? And I didn't have to think about anything, right? Just 3 feet down, 2 feet wide, all the way up, and I made $12 an hour, right? And I'd come home just broken, I'd get rocks in my eyes, have to go to the emergency room. Now, my body feels great, and I'm stressed to shit, right? And I love making my money with my brain instead of my body.
Did you just say your body looks great?
Yeah, feels great, looks great.
Thought you just slipped that one in.
you have cameras on.
That's it.
Yeah. But as far as for the Denver office, I guess one of the things that we can kind of just would help us. So we are trying to grow. We're trying to follow your footsteps in splitting an office.
Yeah.
As far as going through that process, how do you maintain people? Well, I guess kind of Dakota was kind of piggybacking on it a little bit, but ultimately, how do you continue to get these setters to see the opportunity and continue to chase the closer? Because that is the next goal. And for me, it was always I'm trying to chase the next job. But people come in and they start making, especially the pay system we have now. Because I've only been here a year and a half. Or a year and 5 months, and I've been witness to 3 different pay increases.
Pay increases. You ever
Yeah.
seen a pay decrease come out?
And each
Yeah.
time it's funny because we always say, "Man, I'm making so much money. How am I going to justify making more money?"
That's what I said is that when we first started, it was a $500 flat fee, right? And the biggest month I ever had was February of that first year I was working. I sold 18 deals. I made 10 G's. If we did 18 deals now, I'd make like 40 G's as a knocker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But To be honest, I mean, the answer is that as you split and you send off a couple closers, well, now a guy who's a knocker who's like, there's a lot of closers. Now it's like, oh, open opportunity. I'm going to go get that spot. It's always going to push people to the top.
Mm-hmm. The people who are ready, and there will also be some who see their friends do it and they don't. They'll have to, resolve that one in their heads. And, I want to be able to say that through your inspirational leadership, you'll get everybody to see it like you do. But the truth is that there's some who won't see it that way. You can always help more people. You just can't control which particular people they are. You know what I mean? So you continue offering opportunity. You continue bringing people out. But you can't say, I want this particular homie of mine to take it, because that's outside of our control.
Yeah, we've definitely experienced that where we're like, oh, this dude is going to be a killer. Like, he is going to be so good. And then I've literally had friends where we buy him a plane ticket, give him a place to stay, and he gets an Uber out of my house at nighttime and flies home without
Runs
ever
away,
talking to
huh?
me.
In the
Like-
nighttime.
Like, literally, like, I went to work out at like 5 a.m.
Plead the state.
And then I come back and he's got the script open with a glass of water next to it. And I'm like, hell yeah. He's like hitting the script. Like, he's ready for the day. And I go upstairs and I go get shower and I come down and he's still not downstairs. And I go upstairs, knock on the door, and bed's made.
Gone.
He's gone. And I bought his plane ticket here, like showed him the way. Like, I had made like $6,000 that week trying to set appointments for him,
Yeah.
but he didn't have script pattern. So like, he watched me make money and just the whole thing scared him away. But still haven't talked to him since.
The thing, yeah, F them. Just kidding. But the thing is like a wise philosopher once said that you can teach person A and person B how to make $1,000 an hour, right? And person A is going to work 18 hours a day. Person B will work 5 hours in a week and be done for the month, right? And so all we can do is teach this incredible thing, but it's very difficult to overcome an effort gap, right? People have to, I always have the hardest time with people who aren't money motivated. Like, I live in my mom's house. I only need 2 G's a month. I was like, this ain't for you, brother.
That's the hard ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a couple just people that we've noticed that if they come up to to the job, especially leaving Louisiana, Louisiana, there's not much opportunity. But say if they do have the comfort of they've got cushion in their back pocket, they've got a fallback plan. Those are the ones that we don't see progressing the way that we did. It's just because when we come out here, there's back against the wall. It's this or there is no other option.
The only requirement in this job, schooling-wise, is you do need a PhD, which is poor, hungry, and driven, right?
That's right.
You want somebody
Literally.
to come out here, just be in rough shape, hungry, and driven to go get it, right?
I always laugh about, you remember that guy we met with the one time? We met with this guy. This dude wasn't thinking great, but we sit down with him and, in a 10-minute conversation, he insults me and Kyle's religion, says something about the drugs he likes to take, all these types of things. And the whole time we're just still open-minded. We're like, well, I'll tell you what, man, if you come in and you work hard, you can make a lot of money. Yeah. Somewhere in there, he says, I'm not super money motivated. And then we were
get
out.
the hell out of here.
Anyway, afterwards, Kyle was like, honestly, all that stuff he said first, whatever. But once he insulted money, I was out.
Yeah, literally.
Got to have you drive.
Love that, guys. What would you say sets you guys apart? I mean, you came in and saw it. I mean, you guys were broke as hell or what?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, even I love kind of pitching the story too, because my first month coming up here, I was working fine dining, bringing home like $600 a week. And whenever Carson called me about the job, we can cut this out, but this is like the true story to it.
Do you say fine dining, but Chili's? That doesn't count.
Well, I started at Chili's. Fine dining was like 4 months after.
Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to make more money, but I actually made less
Better than
money.
Applebee's.
Yeah.
It is. But yeah, so but this is when Carson called me about the job, he told me about it, and I literally told him on the phone, and he's like, Garrett, I started this job, it's sales. I was thinking about who'd be good at it, and I was thinking about you, and I was like, well, do you make good money? Like, what's going on? That's when he told me I made $8,000 my first month. I'm in my second month. I'm close to $10,000. Been doing really good. And I was like, dude, I don't even care what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, I literally told him that I was like, I don't care if you're in a hot porta potty out in the middle of the sun giving handy. I got 2 hands. Dude. I said, I will literally come and double your money. But that was the mentality. Like, I didn't even know what the job was. He literally just showed me money and then for me, I'm making $600 a week. I'm texting my mom, send me money for
Yeah.
for food. I'm
Yeah.
like, any opportunity, I'm there.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks later, I was on a plane, and I literally just never even had an idea of turning around.
Yeah.
Let me say something too. You know, a person might listen or watch this and hear all four of us here say, and the money this and the money that. But listen, guys, a person has to provide for themselves and their own. You got to put on for your wife, your kids, your girlfriend, whoever it is. Maybe you're trying to get your mom out of the hood. Whatever it is, I don't know, man. But there is something noble about working hard to provide, and that's what we do here.
Absolutely, yeah. Even for mine, in my situation, my mom, she's worked 30 years in healthcare. The last 15 years or so, she opened up her own hospice company with one of her best friends. And her portion of the company was like 7% versus the other person got a lot larger chunk.
Yeah.
And my mom, when I tell you she built this company, like she is the backbone, and she is like, she worked. For me growing up, I know how much she worked because she was always working.
Yeah.
And for me, it was just to the point where I want to see her life change, you know, because my parents, they make good money, you know, enough. I always got anything that I ever wanted. If I ever wanted to go on a trip, I could do it. But I had gotten an idea of what life could be, you know, because my mom, she's the hardest worker in the world, but she still works for that person, you know. She may have a little bit of ownership, but it's just giving her, it's just keeping her going, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And my dad built houses his whole life, so I knew there's not going to be much of a life insurance policy coming from construction work, that type of stuff. So I was like, if I want to have a big change in my life, I've got to be the one to make that.
Yeah, and we actually had a meeting on this. Well, I think like 3 days ago, because we were going through a slump in the Denver office, and it was more about belief. You know, going back to, you know, the vision that we have as far as like you and I literally told everybody in the room. I said, look, guys, there's three different type of people in this world. The person that's going to jump on the opportunity, or is going to be one day, or the person that never does it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I told them, I said, you got to realize that it takes one person to create generational wealth. And everyone in this room, you were the one doing it. So you got to really just implement everything that, you know, the systems that you guys have built for our success, as well as, you know, everybody that's in this company with us. And that's one thing that we really thrive a lot in the office, is that it's no longer like our show. We're going here. It's either if you want to or not, but it's more of we want you to be on board with us to see your personal development, and your mom, their moms being able to retire, their dads being able to retire, just to where instead of them going to their 9-to-5 jobs, working all day every day, and you never get to spend time. You don't get to spend as much time with your family as you want to when they're working at 9 to 5. The typical middle class family, they go to work in the morning, pick up the kids in the evening, and then they go home, go to dinner, go to sleep, and go back to work. You know what I mean? And one thing I really just tell to everybody in our room is just, you are the person that's making this change. So go out there and give it everything you got, and let the rest of your family just be able to reap the rewards with you. So.
You know, something, and I don't think I've ever said this way. I'll say it here on this podcast, but I've spoken a few times in the company about I feel like I owe it to my parents, grandparents, even, you know, ancestors going back however far. I owe it to them to take full advantage of this opportunity. And, you know, like, for instance, like, you know, my grandfather on my mom's side fought in World War II when he was not even 18 yet. You know, he's on an aircraft carrier, you know. Mm-hmm. Other grandpa, you know, hardly made it off the farm here in Delta, Utah. They were poor as can be. Or like my dad and all of my uncles on that side had to work in the family business for free as children so that there could be food on the table for them and my aunts and grandma and everybody. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But my dad put on for us, you know, everybody that I just spoke about, they all put on, but my dad especially, you know, put himself through school. He would drive 100 miles each way to build freeway overpasses during the summer to put himself through school. But anyway, that's all super relevant to me because of what he did, I was able to be a stupid kid in my 20s who tries some things and fails a few times. Mm-hmm. If he hadn't done at least what he did, I would have had to sell my dreams and go start laying bricks at some point when I was 21, 22.
Yeah.
But because of what he did, I was able to be a stupid kid and still be in a position to even still try this when I was 26. That's when I finally tried this guy. I was 26. But I wouldn't have even been in that position if he didn't do what he did. So anyway, it's an obligation and a duty, at least for me, I view it this way, to take full advantage. You know,
I dropped out of college several times, but I remember very little from anything that those guys taught me. But one of the things that always stuck out to me was it was a business law class or business law class. And one of the things that I read in one of the books it said is that it is a company's responsibility, it's a corporation's responsibility to provide as much value to the shareholders as possible, to make as much money for the shareholders as possible. You, me, anybody you know is a corporation, and it is that corporation's responsibility to create as much value for the shareholders as possible. It just so happens that my shareholders are my children, my wife, my family. It is my responsibility to maximize profits for those shareholders. I know you guys are going to wrap soon, but what I wanted to say to your audience is that you guys, especially in Denver, have made it incredibly easy. You get a plane ticket bought, you get a space to sleep. 2 weeks can change their lives. Mm-hmm. But they're not willing to take 2 weeks. They'd rather take the next 30 years than to take 2 weeks to come see if what you're telling them out here in this whole different state is real. But 2 weeks will change their lives. You would be crazy on those odds to not trade 2 weeks to make sure you're not trading away 30 years.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And the pain of regret will be a much larger pain than the pain of risk to come out here and do so. And that's the great thing about our opportunity is we give them a place to live. For me, usually 2 months.
Yeah.
That's plenty.
Yeah.
2 months.
Too much, yeah.
They got a month enough to come out here absolutely broke. They can make enough money to fix their debt and afford an apartment.
Yeah.
Jesse Joyner is a recruit that started January 2nd. He's already made over $6,000 in his first 3 weeks. He was making $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
So
Filthy.
just life changing.
Yeah, but really drop this in the podcast as far as what Jesse does that he saw those results. Because going that extra mile, what he does is what separates him apart from other knockers that just come into the company.
And this is also a big correlation for each individual that comes into, I'm going to just say for my house. Everybody that stayed in my house has worked up to be somebody pretty successful in this company. Jesse comes in, and the first thing we do is we change their life by getting them on our routine. 5 a.m. workout. When he wakes up, he didn't start off by working out. He's a little bit out of shape, but he wakes up at 5 a.m. and he walks the neighborhood out in the cold, reading script at 5 o'clock in the morning. That's extremely uncomfortable. He usually goes to sleep at like 4 a.m., working in the service industry.
Yeah.
So flipped his life upside down, got extremely uncomfortable, and now he's able to see results in his first 3 weeks.
Yeah. And to be honest, every man or woman craves it, right? It's like Lombardi talks about is that every man wants to be challenged and wants to rise to the occasion. No man wants to, really in his soul, wants to be the guy that's on the couch smoking weed and eating Cheetos.
Exactly. It feels good to have purpose.
All righty. Well, perfect. Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up. Levi and Kyle, y'all want to drop like a username or something, like an Instagram username? Yeah. So, definitely the people in the audience, they can go reach out to you, check you out.
Branch out, hear some other podcasts.
Sure. So I'm most active on Instagram.
You go first.
Okay. Hey, guys. I use Instagram. I answer quickly. Real Kyle Deaver is my tag. You can find me there. That's really the only place that I'm active.
I'm most active on Instagram. You can find me at Levi Henry. That's LeviHenrie.
Yeah, so definitely reach out to these guys. Got a tremendous opportunity. It's definitely changed myself and Garrett's life. We appreciate both of you, everything that y'all do for each one of us, just being able to have access to both of you just to pick your brain, help us grow as individuals, not just within the company, just in life in general. Mm-hmm. So we appreciate it. See you next time.